Do you remember playing this Ramayana game in 2009? It was unlike anything I had ever experienced, and to this day, it remains as a great adaptation of the story of Ramayana. I hoped the industry would rise from here, but instead, it went silent after that. Where are the other AAA Indian mythology games? Don't you guys wish you could still play this? What, you don't remember Ramayana the Legend of Prince Ram for PlayStation 3? Don't worry if you can't remember the game. You didn't suddenly develop a long-term memory loss or go through a Mandela effect. The game straight up doesn't exist.
I lied. It's a total fabrication.
Otherwise, I would have shown you some gameplay while talking about the game instead of showing you my face that you guys definitely love to see. Right?
No.
I had this idea for a Ramayana game over a decade ago, and I even found a team who was going to help me develop it. It would have been a third-person story-driven action-adventure game. We even picked an engine, but it never went beyond that. The story of why is also pretty crazy, so stick around. Please stick around, I need the views. The guys I was working with went on to make 0 Hour. Yes, they are my friends and I know them. So in this video, I'm going to tell you my pitch for a video game based on Ramayana and deep dive into the game part of it and why it never saw the light of day. Fair warning, you'll want to play this imaginary game by the end. There is no going back now, so viewer discretion is advised. I want to preface this by saying that back then there was very little to go off of. Games that worked within this idea were few and far between. The best we could think of was God of War 3. It has gods fighting other gods, so close enough I guess. But now we have games like Ghost of Tsushima, The Last of Us, Sekiro, God of War 2018, God of War Ragnarok, which also has gods fighting other gods. Man, these gods have no chill in God of War universe. Anyways, gods with murderous intents aside, I will be using these aforementioned games as a reference in this video. I will also use some games that are yet to come out like Black Myth Wukong or that samurai game they showed off on PlayStation, I don't remember the name. With that out of the way, let's begin. The game starts with an old man walking into the cave with a book in his hand. He is revealed to be Valmiki. He begins to write, you guessed it, the Epic Ramayana, because that is what anyone would normally do when they enter a cave, obviously. Cut to a scenic zoom in from a bird's eye view towards Tadaka forest, where trouble seems to be brewing. A bunch of sadhus are being tormented by demons, and their prayers for help are answered by our game's protagonist, Prince Ram. Because it's a Ramayana game, it would be weird if we have a different lead. So Prince Ram is the son of King Dasharath of Ayodhya. Ram and his brother Lakshman, yes, he's there too, both confront these demons in an epic opening boss fight akin to the eye-popping God of War 3 first boss fight versus Poseidon.
Eye-popping. Really?
A very important part of any video game is its intro, and I like my games to have bombastic intros, which is what I'm going with here. But this will also be the section where you learn the mechanics and the systems of the game, which I will break down into sections to understand how the game feels, but more importantly, how the game plays. By now you can already tell by all the reference images I'm using that this story structure is heavily inspired by the animated epic Ramayana, the Legend of Prince Ram from 1992. This movie was a peace collaboration between Japan and India. So yes, technically this is an anime. To this day, it stands as one of the most beautiful incarnations of this story. Remember that, it will come back later. The game would pretty much follow this storyline, but I would want to add some extra lore to the important places like Ayodhya and Lanka, because this is a game, not a movie, so time constraint isn't really an issue. So why not add some awesome stuff that the movie couldn't? I would especially want to add more lore to the Rakshas King Ravan of Lanka, who is barely given any backstory in the movie. But through the game, we can show that Ravan was not just a mustache-twirling cliché villain. He was a great scholar, a capable ruler, and a devoted follower of Shiva. It will all be done in a way that is kind of similar to what God of War did with Odin and Thor. We never saw them in the first game. but we still knew that Odin was a self-observant dickhead.
Oh, fucker!
And Thor was a
The fat dauber.
Just by interacting with the world and other characters, we knew more about them without even meeting them, which is way better than any exposition bullshit. A sign of a good world design. Speaking of which, in a game of this scale that has the protagonist going to multiple locations, it is only fair to have a semi-open world design, something along the lines of the recent God of War games. You can explore an area, but you need to go to a hub to switch locations, something God of War 2018 does pretty well. Here we can have our main protagonist Lord Ram, who will be the only playable character in this game, hop between locations throughout this journey. We will restrict entry to Ayodhya after Ram gets banished for 14 years, which will make any side quest still unfinished in that area impossible to finish to keep it comprehensive. I mean, how weird would it look if a dude that got banished came back to complete a delivery quest or something like that? This is similar to how Nier games handle the structure of the game, which is unique and works very well for this game that I'm envisioning. Since Ayodhya will be locked off, it will make way for his hut in the forest, then Sugriva's palace, and finally Lanka that enters into the picture. As for the look of the world itself, I wanted to take heavy inspiration from an awesome ninja samurai game called Ghost of Tsushima. Sorry, Force of Habit and everything. But Sekiro looks good too. India will be depicted as vibrant, colorful and full of unique cultures. Something that will start with the depiction of Ayodhya itself, where we will spend a good chunk of opening bit of the game. And finally, Lanka, which could be a contrast to these other locations by being grim and dark. But where the game's world will really shine is when we start interacting with everything and everyone in it. You play as Lord Ram, and his movements can be something along the lines of Jin from Ghost of Tsushima or Wolf from Sekiro. Not too stiff but agile, and even a little graceful, unlike Kratos from the recent God of War games. You can sprint, climb structures, and even use a mount like a horse to get around this beautiful world. Since it is not a fully open world game, the horse can be limited to some locations that have a larger area to cover. Kinda like how Elden Ring does it. Alright, sheesh. You fanboys need to chill. I'm just saying a name. Elden Ring? Fuck me. Anyways, the reason why you want to go around everywhere is to finish side quests. Because what semi-open world game doesn't include side missions? It's just a matter of how good they are, which is the most important part. Looking at you, Ubisoft, all this side stuff starts as early as when Ram is in Ayodhya, where you explore the city, meet the citizens, help them in their needs, and so on. With these side missions, I want the approach to be heavily story-driven. Lord Ram is the prince of Ayodhya. He cannot run around and do errands for citizens like saving a cat from a tree. No. These side missions will deal with meaningful lore and setups that reveal more of this place and its characters. A similar approach can be used when the game is set outside of Ayodhya. I know, easier said than done, but it is all hypothetical, so let me dream, okay? In the movie, it is shown that the citizens are upset when Ram is leaving the city. They want him to stay, but it is never shown why. Why did they love Ram so much? That can be something that is established through these side missions. And to add more weight to this, how about the people trying to stop Ram from leaving will be the people you've helped in those side missions? I know, right? Gives me goosebumps too. Why hasn't anybody hired me still? Oh. Now let's get into the meat of the gameplay. Combat. Vegetarians beware, combat is meaty. I'm gonna say this right now. Parry system is a must. Every game needs to have parry. If a third-person shooter like Resident Evil Remake could have it, this has no excuse. Okay, the goal is to have a fun combat system that is rewarding like Sekiro, but not as challenging, so finding a middle ground with something like God of War Ragnarok or Ghost of Tsushima would be nice. I don't want it to be simple like Prince of Persia games, and I think Devil May Cry will be too hip for what we're trying to achieve here. Ram will have heavy attacks, light attacks, dodges, bow and arrow, and some new weapons that he will obtain along the way. You can switch between the weapons on the fly. Ram will have a few special moves that he can unleash, which will change depending on what weapon is equipped. Of course, there will also be a skill tree. Enemy variety will play a huge role in making the combat system fun, and the way the game is structured, as in some parts are playing out in Ayodhya, which will have different enemies and bosses, and other enemies types that will pop up during the search for Sita. A quick side note, one of my friends told me that the combat system I am describing here is similar to another ninja samurai game that is neither Sekiro nor Ghost of Tsushima. Try to guess which game he was talking about down in the comments below, because dropping comments is cool. I cannot use that. I will not use that. Ram, however, is not present for all the battles or gameplay sections, like when Hanuman and his crew are looking for Sita and have to cross the sea. So how would you show that? Simple, Hanuman is now the playable character.
Who will be the only playable character in this game?
So call me Pinocchio because
I lied.
he will pretty much play similarly to Ram, but when Ram has the ability to switch between weapons and his special attacks, Hanuman can instant have the ability to grow or shrink in his size, and also fly. His primary weapon will be the all-powerful Gada. You know what? Throw in a Hanuman stealth mission in there while he's trying to find Sita in Lanka, because why not? Then he gets captured and burns Lanka down in an epic set-piece moment, where you play as Hanuman. The boss fights. They will be a mix of both huge epic battles and close quarter 1v1s too. Boss fights like the Tadaka forest monster, Wali, who is Sugri's brother, Kumbhakarna, and finally Ravan himself, who descends into the battlefield with his flying machine wreaking havoc. Now Ram has to climb on Hanuman while he flies to bring Ravan's flying machine down in an airborne battle. Once the flying machine is down, it turns into a 1v1 sword battle, ending with Ram chopping his head off. But Ravan gets up and pulls out all his 10 heads as the phase 3 of this epic boss fight begins. But Ram defeats him with the bow and arrow that he had from the very beginning of this game. Oh, if that wasn't epic, I don't know what is. I want to play this game right now. But I can't, and probably no one ever will. Here's why. Okay, I'm gonna throw at you the biggest and the simplest reason why no one will let this happen. Why our development on this game ended. You all ready? How will you show Ram or Hanuman losing? How will you show death and respawn? Huh? This was something we realized while working on character animations. When it was time to work on the death animations, that is where the project died. Ironic, I know. If you have a solution to this, let me know in the comments. I would love to read them. Secondly, Ramayana is a very niche concept outside of India, so business will not be booming, because at the end of the day, this has to make money.
This is business!
International sales are required because Indian market is tiny, or rather basically non-existent, especially when you consider how religious people will react to a game like this. So you cannot expect this game to make back its development cost here in India if it has a AAA budget. It's not illegal to make games based on Indian mythology, but these are very sensitive topics to make a game for. If it accidentally or unintentionally hurts the sentiment of the religious Indian people, there will be a plenty of criticism and hatred followed by political and religious interference, even when the storyline or the gameplay is amazing. Just getting the permission or rights to use the likeness of these characters will be a nightmare.
It is over, Tess!
Then there are the kind of people I like to call the softies, who get upset over the smallest little detail. They are so blind over this minute stuff that they don't understand how much renown this awesome Indian mythology game could bring to our culture internationally. It is just genuinely frustrating. So, if making video games wasn't hard enough already, dealing with all this is a big no for any poor soul even attempting to make a game based on Indian mythology. But whatever you do not include an NPC cow. Just don't. It will not help your case. So that's it then, huh? The dream of ever getting this game is over, right? Well, as you can see, there's a good bit of video left, and it would be really funny if I played Never Gonna Give You Up for the rest of the video. But I won't do that. I got more shit to say. I have a few reasons why we could see something like this being made today. Let's get into them. The most ideal way to go about this is to have a foreign developer with a good rep for developing games, and an Indian unit that provides and overlooks the story and the mythology part. This Indian unit might not be fully involved with the game, but they are there to correct any inconsistencies or concerns that could cause a riot. This is what Sucker Punch did with Ghost of Tsushima. They collaborated with the Japan studios at PlayStation to ensure authenticity. The reason why I think this would work is because the 1992 movie was also a result of collaborative work between India and Japan. So something like this could definitely work and keep both parties happy. This kind of collaboration could also result in other projects based on rich Indian mythology. and its criminally untapped potential. Maybe a Mahabharata game, who knows? So more things could come out of this partnership. Hey Naughty Dog, how about you stop wasting time on this Last of Us live service game and come work on this, huh? Another way to win over the Indian audience, especially the non-gamers, is to include an option for Hindi or Sanskrit voice acting for the game. Ghost of Tsushima did this with Japanese voiceover and how they honored the legendary film creator Akira Kurosawa. Now imagine a game based on Indian mythology where characters are communicating in their home language. Would hit you right in the feels. As a matter of fact, the movie did this too. The narration was done by Shatrughan Sinha. In English, it was James Earl Jones. Lord Ram was voiced by Arun Govil. In English, it was Bryan Cranston. Yes, Walt White himself. And Ravan was voiced by the late, great Amrish Puri. So get a star-studded Indian cast to voice these legendary characters and watch them sell like hotcakes. Free marketing right there. You're welcome. Seriously, I'm over here giving free ideas to you all. Someone do something with it, please. I would also like to point out that things are already changing. In God of War Ragnarok post-endgame, many speculated that it heavily indicates we might be seeing Hindu mythology next. This was because, spoiler warning for God of War Ragnarok, the real Tyr does yoga poses after we free him and meet him in different locations. It is something, but it is not like other games have not dabbled into Indian mythos for the games. The best example would be Uncharted Lost Legacy. The whole game is about finding Ganesha's tusk. You see a lot of idols, statues, and even puzzles involving some gods. Having us play as the gods is a little different, but we are talking about the silver lining here. So maybe, just maybe, there is still hope. As much as I would love to see something that lets our rich Indian mythologists shine in the best form of entertainment available to man, the video games, some people will only see negatives about this whole thing. But these days, things are changing. And if stuff like this can get a green light, I feel giving a well-made video game a try won't do any more harm. For now, this sad little game is your only option if you want to experience a game based on Ramayana. It is on Steam and it is free. Knock yourself out. Thanks for watching.